Hello and welcome to How to Lead Your Business with Peter Cox. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. How will you lead them? Join us for this podcast where we dive deep into business leadership. This is the podcast where business owners and entrepreneurs learn how to grow their leadership to unlock business and personal growth, empower teams and drive success. Whether you're a startup or scaling to the next level, we've got the insights, the strategies, the intellectual property you need to grow in leadership, to fuel your team and fuel your business to go to the next level. Let's get into this. Hello and welcome again to How to Lead Your Business podcast with Coxie. My special guest today is someone we can all learn a great deal from, regardless of whether you like rugby league or not. His name is Madge Maguire, head coach of the New South Wales State of Origin Blues 2024, creating history, and who's just been appointed head coach for the Brisbane Broncos from 2025. Earlier this year, New South Wales, against all odds, secured one of their greatest State of Origin victories, defeating Queensland 14-4 inside their Suncorp Stadium fortress in the series decider to take home the 2024 Shield. This was just the third time in 45 years the Blues have won a deciding match in Brisbane, and it was the first time Queensland scored 0 tries in a State of Origin match. This was an impressive win. In this episode, Michael will talk about what he and his coaching team to take high-performing individuals and turn them into a tight, unified winning team. How he inspired the team with a powerful vision. How he was able to grow the mental toughness of the players he surrounded himself with to succeed under tremendous pressure. And how Michael and his leadership team grew a winning team culture that fueled their historic victory. There are so many takeaways for anyone leading a team. Strap in. I hope you get as much out of it as I did from talking to Madge Maguire. Well, good morning, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Here, Coxie's next hour of power with a very, very special guest today, Madge Maguire. You can see him right now. And for some of you guys that don't follow rugby league in Australia, this is the equivalent to English Premier League football there in Europe. He's an elite sporting coach, and he's going to share with us today some great thoughts about how to lead your team in business, how to create a high-performance environment. But just a bit of background about Madge, okay? He started playing rugby league in the early 1990s. He had a pretty serious neck injury, which ended his career. 2001, he started his coaching career. So that's 23 years ago. He's been a coach, an assistant coach, and then he became a head coach. The UK Super League with the Wigan Warriors, 2010, 2011, 2012 to 2017, South Sydney. Our elite rugby league team in Australia created history after 43 years, winning that NRL premiership. 2019 to 2022, West Tigers NRL. 2018 to 2023, Madge Maguire was head coach of New Zealand Rugby League team, and they created history last year, beating Australia 30-0, biggest losing margin in Australian Rugby League history. And now recently, 2024, New South Wales State of Origin coach, creating history again, winning the third game up in Suncorp to win the series 2-1 after losing the first game. Welcome to the Hour Power, Coxie, with Madge.
How are you, Pete? Great to be on, mate. Thanks.
I'm really privileged to have you, Madge. I know how busy you are, and you don't do this very often, what we're doing right now. And I just want to ask you this question, Madge. What do you think is the most important part of leadership?
Yeah, Peter, thanks for obviously having me on, and for everyone out there jumping on. It's obviously a privilege, mate, and you and I have been together for a long time through many journeys, through the ups and downs of a head coach at a high level. It's definitely taken me on one hell of a journey, but we've had some pretty great highs together and many more, obviously, of what we're trying to do. But leadership to me is just about people. I think, being able to get the right people around you is very important. I think it's the number one. I mean, you're only as good as the people that you have around you, and it's something there that I've been very fortunate to have through quite a number of teams and a number of journeys to be able to create the highs. But also, too, on the flip side, I've taken on some real good challenges with some teams that don't have, I guess, some of the resources or the enormity of what the club is, or sometimes just the current playing group. So you're developing as well. So I've learned a lot across the extremes of coaching, from the great highs of winning competitions to also to taking on clubs that are challenging, and also to going to an international arena, coaching a country that I'm not from. So that was a really great opportunity for myself, and the learnings I got out of that and from the people, especially through the Kiwi people. It was, I was really fortunate to get into the depths of getting to understand what the Kiwi team meant to a lot of people over there in New Zealand, not only just in New Zealand, but, the Kiwis that are here in Australia and over in England as well, because we do a number of tours. So I've been very fortunate across a number of teams, Pete, to learn about leadership, but I'm more than happy to show your video that you got there, mate.
Yep. I'm going to go to a quick video now, just for you that don't know who Michael Maguire is. We'll just go to this video. Wow, what a special video that is, Madge. I mean, I've had 10 years on this special journey with you. I remember the first time we met when you rang me. I was in Singapore at a leadership event, and here we are, 10 and a half years later. And when I look at that video, I see nothing but resilience. That's all the ups, but people don't see the downs and what you've been through to create those unbelievable pictures, which is the same in business. There are tough times in business, and you need that resilience so you can make those types of videos and pictures of your own life in a successful business. Madge, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, people see that video and they go, wow, you are a winner, Madge. You're a winner. Yeah, but where did you start, Madge? Tell me a bit about your family life, where you came from.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I mean, success and life, I guess life takes you on a journey, and there's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs. And I guess where I suppose I learnt to handle, I suppose, the roller coaster ride of what I do now is, I guess, through a bit of a playing career that I did have, Pete. Look, I'm a Canberra boy. I'm just like everyone on the call. I'm just I was a young bloke, had a dream, and that dream has taken me on a ride. I always wanted to be a rugby league player. And I guess at the age of 21, 22, it was taken away from me. I was playing at the Canberra Raiders at the time, and unfortunately I hurt my neck. Little did I know that was going to change the path of my life, because basically I ended up having to sit with a doctor, and he said, basically, your career's over. And I always was going to be a rugby league player. I wanted to play in grand finals. I wanted to play State of Origin. I was one of those young kids that dreamed and kicked the footy out in the field across the road in an old park that we had all my life. And so my career, I guess, turned very quickly when all of a sudden, I couldn't play anymore. And that's when I guess I sort of turned to coaching, and I was very fortunate that I had debuted with a great player in the great Mal Meninga. So, the people that you connect with throughout your life, it's amazing how they come back on you. And it was Mal Meninga that actually asked me to come into the coaching arena as a young bloke at the age of 23, 24. So I went back into Canberra and started, a bit of a coaching career. Little did I know that it was going to take me on an incredible journey that, I was back coaching players that I played with, which I found quite difficult because I used to watch these players that I played with, and they were going on and going to the highs of winning grand finals. And, unfortunately I had to sit on the sideline. But through that, I found a path into coaching. And it was just when I started to coach, I found you could actually help people. And that's the joy that I guess I've got out of my coaching career, that to see players go on now to sort of start their career, and you debut a young player, and before you know it, they're playing first grade, and from there they go on, and there's a chance of winning a grand final, but also too then they can go and represent their country or represent their state, which is here in Australia with the state of origin, which we'll come to. But I think that's something there that's very special about the coaching, and I suppose that's what I get out of leading a group of people, is that albeit you're going to have some challenges. If you stay at it and you stay focused about what you're after, then there's no reasons why you can't achieve. And I've seen teams where we've been told that we can't do it, and they haven't done it for 41 years. My time at South, where when I first arrived back to coach at South, everyone said we haven't won a comp in 41 years, and I used to think, my goodness, this is she's a fairly large job, this one, but I was able to galvanise a great group of people, and Pete, you're a part of that. And we came together and we formed this united group that just had one focus on achieving and winning. And I think that from 2012, the journey where we started at the club where they hadn't had a lot of success, and then we were one game short of playing in a grand final in that 2012 year. And it was quite an interesting ride. I moved into the area where the team was, and you could feel that, people just lived in a lot of hope. And then, sort of going from that hope to being one game short of a grand final, all of a sudden people started to believe. So, from 41 years, it went to 42 years, and people started to say, we can actually do this. And the following year, we were, again, one game short of winning a grand final after this such a long spell of my time there at, the time there at South. And we then cracked it in 2014, Pete, where I think we just had a group of people that we just had one focus around what we wanted to achieve, and that was winning the grand final that year. And, I credit all that success to everyone that was involved, like the staff, the organisation, the owners, everyone. It was an incredible ride to be a part of. That this move of people living in sheer hope that this club may have success one day, to all of a sudden achieving it. We were fortunate to celebrate after that time, Coxie, at the club and South Juniors, which is here in Sydney, and the amount of people that were involved in that was quite an incredible time. So that's a little.
Some powerful lessons there for business owners. Those closest to the leader will determine that leader's success. Madge is talking about that he didn't create that success on his own. He created it with the people he surrounded himself with. And if you want to succeed in business, you've got to look at the people you have around you. And if they're not A-graders, move them on. You've got to surround yourself with A-graders in key roles in a team, in an organisation, like what Madge Maguire's been involved in, and in business as well. Now, Madge, when you look at that video, it's so impressive with all the winning. But you came from pretty humble beginnings in Canberra.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about your family life. Small family, big family, what your parents do?
Yeah, Pete, well, I was one of 6 kids. I was the second last. My dad was a farmer. We were Canberra born and bred, and, we sort of got moved off the land just prior to I was born, actually. So, the old man, he worked 7 days a week. He had to, he was a taxi driver. So I bought a taxi and worked basically 7 days a week, and gave us one hell of a life. It wasn't a flashy style of life that we lived, but we lived a great life as a family. And, I sort of basically went through school, and, we all worked extremely hard, and I had a family that excelled. I was probably the one that probably wasn't as keen on school as everyone else. And I used to spend most of my time kicking the footy out the front yard, Pete, dreaming of, the things that we've just seen there. And it's amazing that you fast forward that, what you think about and what you move towards is basically, it's up to you. And you said there before, is it, I think business and the business world, you're only as good as the people around you. That's one thing I have learned. And you've got to spend a lot of time. And I learned that, I guess, through my parents. A lot of spend time on looking at the people that you're hanging around, the people that are with you that are going to go on the ride. And I always remember my parents always saying, chase your dream. And I definitely did that by going after my football. I always thought I was going to be a footy player. Well, that was what I always wanted to do. But then all of a sudden it took me into the coaching arena, and I dreamed of being a part of grand finals and dreamed of being a part of a state of origin. And I fast forward, 40 years on, and all of a sudden I'm doing these things, which is, I still pinch myself. But the life that you live is definitely takes you on the path of where you end up.
And it's been 10 years since that historic premiership with South Sydney.
Yeah.
43 years, and then 10 years later, and it hasn't been done yet again, Madge.
No, I know. It's amazing though, Pete. You've got to persist. I think success in business is, if I can share with anyone, you've just got to persist. And like you said, I had success in 14. Prior to that, I did some time at a club by the name of Melbourne Storm, and they went to 4 grand finals. And I just thought that was the norm. I sort of came out of an incredible organisation called the Canberra Raiders, a team there in Canberra, which in the early 90s I was very fortunate to land in. They basically went to a grand final in 94. I arrived there in 92. So all I knew was basically a successful group of people. I had, the pinnacle of the game leading me as a young man. I know some of the greatest players in the game, and I landed there, and we turned up and trained, and the training ethic and how hard you worked, I learnt that as a young player by being fortunate to land in the right environment in the early 90s. So little did I know, I fast forward 10 years on in my coaching career, that I reflect back on that time of, well, what created the success in those early 90s were the people, was the great players. And I've definitely learned that now when you're creating a team, unless you've got players that really, really believe and really want to do the work, you won't succeed. And that's something there that I reflect on in what I do right now, is that, and I'm very grateful for landing in that great team in the early 90s, because they taught me a lot of lessons as a young man. I didn't realise that at the time, but that's where leadership comes into play. You're only as good as the leaders. As a young person, if you're bringing a young person into your business, the leaders of that organisation are going to educate those young people or young players as myself to where you want to go and how hard you need to work to have success. So I fast forward to my time at the Melbourne Storm, and I landed there with a good friend of mine in Craig Bellamy, who I debuted as a young player with. He was 32, I think, at the Canberra Raiders in the early 90s. So once again, a person that I'd met way back as a young chap, all of a sudden gives me an opportunity to go into a coaching career at the Melbourne Storm. And we went through 4 grand finals there. It was an incredible time. So I bounced out of that as an assistant coach, thinking, well, this is all about winning. So I took that work ethic and knowledge and took it across to the Wigan Warriors. And literally in that first year, the Wigan Warriors hadn't had success over 12 or 13 years, but I just believed in what I'd been through and my experiences, and I took that to myself now being a head coach at the Wigan Warriors. And look, that team went on and won in the first year, and that playing group was so resilient, and that came back from basically a lot of my thoughts that, I'm going to work this team that hard that they're going to be the fittest and most prepared team that you can find. And sure enough, they went from not being a part of a grand final for quite some time to winning a grand final, then going on. And it's nice to see that great club still doing well off the back of things that changed way back, when I brought a great group of people together.
You've touched on a very important subliminal point there, Madge, that you started your career, really started to escalate under the leadership of Craig Bellamy. Now, there's people around the world on this right now wouldn't know who Craig Bellamy is, but Sir Alex Ferguson, if you follow football, he's at that level in rugby league. You were being led and mentored and learnt from Craig Bellamy. And when you contacted me in Singapore in November 2013, you said that you were looking for someone to lead you. And that takes so much humility, Madge.
Yeah.
And there are many business owners out there that lead themselves. The majority do, and they don't get to where they need to get to. You understood the principle of being challenged, of becoming accountable, that you don't have all the answers, to have someone bring different thinking into your life. And it's had a profound effect on your journey over the last 20 plus years of your coaching career, is being led by strong people that you trusted as well. And if you're a business owner, and you don't have someone that leads you and you work it out yourself, that's going to make it so much more difficult for you to succeed. Because if you look at the level that Madge is at in coaching, he's got advisors. He doesn't get there on his own, and either will you in business. Now, with our 10 years of discussions, we've spoken about a lot of things, and I was very strong with you about vision and the importance of casting that vision. And this year, you created history of New South Wales State of Origin, only winning for the third or fourth time up in Suncorp over 44 years. It really was an historic moment a couple of 5-6 weeks ago. How important was the vision that you embedded down in that team?
Yeah, vision's everything to me, Pete. I think we've spoken about that many times, and I've learnt that, especially early days as a player, or like when you're a sportsman, a vision of winning a grand final it's pretty straightforward. I mean, that's everyone plays sport to, especially at the competitive level, to win. So you've got your trophy at the other end. So I think for a sports person, there is a vision, but I guess, and it's not just. Like as a player, you've got so many people around you. You've got your support staff, you've got your administration. I mean, as a coach, I'm dealing with boards, media, my current staff, the community. Look, at the state of origin level, you've got 9 million people of New South Wales, with majority of those have got their eyeballs on a period of time, which is so intense and so much fun. That it is so important to make sure that the vision is embraced by everyone. I mean, for anyone that may have seen the series, we played our first game in New South Wales. So we played in New South Wales, and we had a game down in Melbourne, and then we had a game in Brisbane. So it's a 3-game series that we play. And they're 2 states with massive rivalries. And everyone basically said to me, they said, Madge, you've got to make sure you win the first one because you're in your hometown. And within 8 minutes, unfortunately, we had one of our players sent off. And it's never happened before in an origin. So I've got to say, I felt physically sick at the time, being the leader. And because we had 80,000, I think it was 90,000 plus fans in the stadium, and you could actually feel the whole stadium sit down. Because all of a sudden everyone realised the enormity of what had just happened. So facing the adversity of that first game, a lot of people basically had written us off. That our last game, we had to go to Suncorp, knowing that hadn't been done for a long period of time. So, but the vision of what was created, and I can share with anyone that's out there, like your one-on-ones with all your staff, or whether or not it's anywhere within your business, to get to know how you can bring everyone on the journey. I went from past players to administration, to media, to just fans, to basically work out what was the vision that I was going to try and cast moving forward. And I found that passion in sport is very big. So trying to connect everyone with the passion of what we're about, I felt that we were able to really hit a key point of what state of origin means to a lot of people. I found there was one player that everything resonated back to, and it was actually way back in 1985 when Origin sort of became quite historic in the New South Wales path. It was the first time they'd won. And there was a guy by the name of Steve Derby Mortimer. He was a special person back in the early 80s, and believe it or not, he was actually one of my fan favourites as a young player. So it was actually quite simple for me that I found this vision of what I might cast out there to try and bring everyone on a run. And, I actually kept that quite private. But I think as we move forward, I think, I want to make sure that, when you're celebrating someone of that stature, that you can then cast a vision. So everyone jumped on board, Coxie, as you know, and we went on a great ride, didn't we?
Have you got a picture of that?
I have, mate. I will share it. Hopefully this will come up for you. So Steve Turvey, if you're looking at your screen on your top left, that's 1985. So an incredible moment in time in State of Origin history. It's actually the first time that New South Wales, there's quite a bit of a storyline to why New South Wales probably hadn't had the success until 85, with Origin coming in the early 80s. But that moment in time was when everyone was embraced and everyone came together, and it was sort of a symbolic time of Origin. And the photo on the bottom left there with my current team was actually recreating that in a very special moment. And I think your history and where you've come from as a business or a sporting organisation plays a massive part in building success. And we had a special moment there where Terves was lifted up in a similar photo, and Terves at the moment is not well, but it was really nice to have him there. And obviously there's a bit of a trophy there that you can see that was created. And I think off the back of that, Pete, when you're talking about people, like, it's an incredible story if you go out and ask and you want to dig to the depths that we did creating the Origin team. We didn't have a training facility. We've got a very special place in Sydney at Homebush where the Olympics were. But I felt I needed to get the team out of Sydney. And it wasn't until I went out looking that it's amazing the amount of people that will actually come and help you if you actually ask. And through a good friend of mine, and the name of Scotty Boyce, he pointed me in a direction up to the Blue Mountains. And there's a hotel owner up there and who's, loves his rugby league. And, I said to the guys, I said, I need a field, I need a gym, I need a hotel that can provide everything for us. And basically there wasn't one in New South Wales. And so he said, well, how about we build one? And so off the back of, the conversations, all of a sudden what you're seeing in front of us here is the Field of Dreams, what I call it. And it's the field that he basically spent a hell of a lot of money on creating a world-class field. He then developed a gym for us that basically, it cost him up to the near $1 million. And that was basically through just a conversation, Pete, as you know. So all of a sudden we had this incredible Field of Dreams. We had this incredible state-of-the-art training facility. So one thing that I'd like to share through this story, Pete, is off the back of, a vision that if you're bringing the elite into an organisation, you've got to provide them with what they require. It's a bit like your staff. If you can take your staff to a higher level and there's an expectation within that group, it's amazing what you can build. And, albeit that, I go back to the adversity we faced in our first game and then we fast forward to our last game. To be honest, it wasn't so much about what we were playing, it was about what we were doing. And I think that's something there that I always talk to business people about, is that if you're always looking in and you make sure that you're improving your people and you've got the right people around you, well, there's no reasons why you can't achieve and do great things. And off the back of that, the belief comes. And you mentioned before there, Pete, about someone like Craig Bellamy. I was very fortunate that Craig allowed me to be very hands-on in the actual team itself at Melbourne Storm, which taught me how to be who I am today. So it's, as a leader, being able to allow people to grow within your organisation so then they can actually grow your organisation to a higher level. And look, to be honest, our last game, I found it very easy because I had great people around me. I had a great playing group. There was great belief within. And sure enough, they were able to go off and achieve at a real high level.
If you're a business owner right now, if you lead teams right now, you're listening to Michael Maguire, and he's sharing some profound thoughts on success and high-performance teams, culture, vision, leadership. But it's very important that you understand this very important point, because I've known Madge for 10 years now. He doesn't want to be the same person next year this time. He doesn't want to be the same leader, same husband, same father, same mate to me, for example. He's very much into growing and becoming the best person he can be, the best leader he can be. How important is growing yourself, changing, personal change in relation to be creating success, Madge?
Yeah, it's an enormous part of, I guess, what I've learned over my time, Pete, where I'm hungry to improve all the time. I think, as we all know, generations are changing, and you've got to keep moving with the times. And if you're not up with the times, you're going to get left behind. It's simple as that. I've had to evolve as a coach, and I've faced a bit of adversity over time where, look, I've been tapped on the shoulder, and I guess you reflect back and you look at various things you may have been able to change at the time. But I guess I've always seen that as lessons learnt, to move forward. And I think we touched on it before, Coxie. We won in 2014. It's taken me 10 years to get back to feeling that success. So that's a long, long time. And there's been a lot of hard yards put in. But I think one thing I reflect back on is that I just continually knew if I improved myself and improved in the people around me and got an understanding of how to grow people, I think that's a really important part of, as I said, look, I had great staff in the Origin campaign. I had great players. And to be honest, they led the way. Like when you're working with the elite of what we were able to work with, Pete, there's a lot of knowledge within those players. They don't just become elite off the back of doing nothing. They're some of the greats. So they've been practicing at the highest level. So allowing them to take ownership of what's going on. But you can only do that if you've got the right people. And it goes back to your comments at the start where you're only as good as the people around you. So you've got to keep hunting for the right people that sit around your desk or around your table or in your business out on the yard, because you can't be there all the time. And I'm just one part of something there that grows. And, having the right people, as we say, continually, I'll say that to everyone, is that keep growing yourself because you'll grow the people around you.
Personal change is an inside job. What you're not changing, you are choosing. Change equals progress. Without change, there can be no progress. Change is a decision. And one of the things I share with my clients is change the people or change the people. And that's been a very big part of Madge's journey. And it's very difficult for some of the decisions he's had to make in his career regarding the people he surrounds himself with. And if you're in business and you're not where you want to be, you've got to look at the people you're surrounding yourself with. Madge, I've got a couple of questions here. What's 3 key leadership behaviours you believe you need to grow to be an effective leader?
Yeah, 3 things. Firstly, we've touched on it, is your vision. The vision's got to be shared by everyone. If you think you're a leader that can do it all, you just can't. You've got to make sure that you've got people on board with you that cast the vision. And then I guess the next one, and we've said this many a time through this conversation, find the right people. You've got to find the right people to be able to go to where you want to get to. And then the third one really for me is the disciplines to stay on the path. And as we've just discussed, Pete, I went from 2014 thinking this is normal to be in and around grand finals from my walks of an assistant coach, going to Wigan, going to Souths. Success, albeit that I then took on a great challenge in a club that I really enjoyed in the West Tigers. It was a tough club to go into. And I knew there were going to be some challenges, but I've got to say I actually learned a hell of a lot from my experiences through that time, because it's okay to be at the top, because you'll be able to create a culture that rolls on. But when you're going to an organisation that's got different challenges, and then being able to try and create a path forward, it's a completely different journey. So you've got to really be able to sort of have that discipline to stay on the path. And sometimes, as you said, you may need a move and things like that. But all of a sudden, I landed at the Kiwis whilst I was at that same club. So it was quite an interesting sort of journey. I was on a journey where an international team was on the rise. It was growing. It was growing really quickly. But I was still having some various challenges at clubland. That weren't moving as quick. So it was quite interesting going on 2 rides at the same time, where one went on to success and one sort of is still going through some challenges. Mm-hmm. So again, the disciplines of staying the path and having the right group of people around you to stay on that path is very, very important.
And I remember when you started the coaching journey with the New Zealand Rugby League team, and we had a discussion about what you were going to do to grow the culture. Yeah. How important is culture to create a winning environment?
Well, you've got to understand your people, Pete. And, you've got to remember I'm an Australian coaching a Kiwi team. So I spent hours and hours going over to New Zealand on the ground, meeting people, getting an understanding of the family life, and when you're in New Zealand, you've got Samoans, Tongans, Maoris, you've got people coming from all walks of life. And to be honest, I actually learned a lot from the people of, all those countries that were in New Zealand, and just the different way of how people live their life, their cultures. Everyone does it a little different, and being able to have that understanding was so beneficial. And I think that's something there for any business owner, that you've got to get to know your people, find out about their kids, find out whether they've got dogs and cats and where it might be, because realistically, everyone wakes up each day. Everyone's trying to get further forward than where they've ever been. And if you have an understanding about the person, because we all wake up in a different light. Some people have had to stay up late at night because of their kids. They've got different challenges financially. So unless you can actually help someone, that to me is the most important part, because especially at the levels that I am, they're talented players. They don't just land in an NRL team or a state of origin team. They've got talent. So it's actually having to get to know the people. And I think that's the most important thing I could share with anyone, is that unless you know your people, you'll never have success. And it's one-on-ones or getting to know their family. I really enjoy going over and sitting in their family lounge room, just talking about where they've come from. And that's something that I did a lot with the Kiwis, because I had to get to know what really made them tick, because to play at the highest level, you've got to be so focused, and you can't afford to slip, and their disciplines in life and everything that they do need to have, they've got to have good habits. So I think that process of getting to know people is very important. And as you always push with me, Coxie, it's one-on-one. I hear that ringing loud every single day, is that you're only ever going to be as good as knowing the people, and you've got to do it one-on-one. And I'm a very big believer of that, because when you build a bond with someone, it's amazing what you can actually achieve.
Yeah, there are 16 benefits to that one-on-one process, Madge, and I've watched you over the last 10 years, and certainly with the New South Wales team, some of the things that you did one-on-one, the one percenters that definitely helped.
There's some of the special moments, Pete, and some of the most special moments that I've had as a coach is actually one-on-one, sitting down on a lounge, and, I'll share a little story. I won't tell you who the player was, but I never forget, in 2014, I had a meeting in my office, and I saw one of my players flick past my door a few times, and I thought that was quite unusual. But because I know that player really well, I thought there was something going on. So sure enough, I excused myself out of the meeting, and I actually went and found that player, and that player was actually in one of the furthest change rooms in tears. So, unless you know your people at the highest level and their behaviours of how they act and move, well, that one moment there, I think really gave us the greatest opportunity to win the grand final in 2014, because if I hadn't sorted that out, that could have turned into a bit of an issue within the team. And sure enough, was one of our great players that helped us build success. So those moments, they're very important when you're dealing with the highest level, because if you don't capture it at that moment in time, you'll never get that back, and the pathways will change.
The leadership dynamics process was born out of the power of the one-on-one process, Madge. So, every day I'm mentoring my clients one-on-one. It's the sweet spot of the business. And the reason why, if you're a business owner, it's so important you grow your one-on-one skills is because Theodore Roosevelt said a long time ago, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And people can only feel that you care about them if you spend one-on-one time with them. Sending them an email, sending them an SMS is not going to do it. No. And you're not going to grow deep connection. You're not going to grow trust, and trust is needed for influence. The number one characteristic of a leader is influence, and influence means follow me. If you want people to follow you in your business, you've got to grow trust, and trust comes through the one-on-one process. And there's 16 benefits to when you spend one-on-one time with people, which I'm not going to go into now, but it's a skill as a business owner, as an elite coach like Michael Maguire, you need to grow if you want to create a high-performance culture and a high-performance team based upon trust. Your family life, Madge, how do you keep it all going? Like business owners out there have they get caught on their vision, and you've got a very strong lady next to you in Joelle. You've got 3 beautiful kids. But, I don't know anyone successful that's balanced.
No.
I'm not balanced, you're not, but there are times where you've got to bring balance into the equation. So what do you do to create a certain level of balance?
Yeah, I think you got to prioritise a bit of time, Coxie, and you know that I'm not very good at that because once I get locked on, I'm like probably everyone on the call. If you're a business owner and you've got your vision, you've got so many people. I mean, in a football organisation, you have a squad of 30. You've got hundreds of people that are really connected with you in some way. So, being able to try and find the right time. But I think just making sure you prioritise a little bit of time. And, the days of work, I get up at crazy hours like most people in business, and I get into work early and work long hours, but I'll always try and have dinner with the family if I can, albeit sometimes that's a challenge. But, I think just making sure that you do spend a bit of time with your loved ones, because when the lights turn out, and there's no one else around, they're the ones that are going to be standing beside you at the other end. And as a head coach, you're going to have some rides up and down, and the bumpy ones when you really find out about the people around you and the close ones, and that tends to be the family. So you've got to make sure that you look after that.
You've experienced big highs in your rugby league coaching career and big lows. When you're experiencing real frustration, when you're going through a losing period, what's a couple of key behaviours that you ingrain into your life to keep climbing, to keep going through difficult times?
Yeah, I talk about sort of trying to get to a higher level. So whether or not you can take yourself away, and like I call it, get on the balcony. So if you can get up above what's going on around you and look back down on it, really gives you the opportunity to see what's going on. And you've got to find time to do that. Like, you've got madness going on around whatever business it might be. When you're in charge of people, they've got all their own life issues going on. You've got to be able to stand back and go, well, I can see something over there that I need to deal with, or it might be over here, or I need to change. And I think that's something there that's very important when you're going through some tough times, to be able to stand back and really see what's going on. And look, I've had challenges with that. I think anyone that's been at the highest level, it's being able to focus on the right path that you need to go. And I think that comes back to the vision that we've spoken about, Coxie, is that once you've got your vision and you've got things set in stone and what you want to create, it's then aligning the people. That then allows you to be able to see where you need to get to at a higher level, because everyone's set and agreed upon where we want to get to. But the path might be a bit of a zigzag way of getting there, but that's life. That's called business. That's called sport. So it's being able to understand that vision and where you go with that.
Have you taken time to reflect on, I know you're already moving forward for next year's New South Wales Origin campaign, but have you taken time to reflect what you achieved as a New South Wales coach, first year in Origin?
Probably not, Coxie. I love to achieve, and I love to achieve with people. So it's about what I'm doing moving forward, and I guess you reflect back on that in years to come. And I do understand the enormity, I guess, of it, but it's actually wanting more and more of that. I mean, when you've had a taste, it's addictive. It's very addictive. And to think that I was standing there with my team, my staff, after our time of success there up at Brisbane on the field after the game, and you just stand there and they're the dreams, I suppose, that you had as a kid, that one day you might be out there. So you want more and more of that. So I guess I'm probably not one to reflect too much, but also too understanding the great ride that you've had with the people. I think that's probably the special part that you take moving forward.
I think for any business owner, when you start to develop momentum and scale in your business, you start impacting the lives of the people around you. And Madge, what you did as head coach and the 14 high performance staff you had around you, the impact you've had on all of our lives will never be forgotten, and it's something you take to your grave, Madge. It's like when you are winning in life, winning in business, winning in sport, it is addictive.
Yeah.
And there are special relationships that come out of success. Would you not say that that's probably the greatest reward in succeeding in sport, in business, in life, is those deeper relationships of people that went on the journey with you through the good times and the bad times?
That's the best part of success, Coxie, is the people that you connect with along the way. I think, like we've been doing this for a long time, mate. We've had some good old tough conversations and challenges, and and that's part of what you need around you, because you can get locked in a vision that might not be the right path. So you've got to make sure that you're open enough to be able to accept and hear what's being said around you, and that comes back to the many times I've said people. But the relationships are the most special thing that you can get when you have success. And people talk about whether it's money or things like that. That's not success. It's the people. It's the people that you actually get to share things with, and they're the special times that, especially obviously the journeys that we've had. Like, I mean, to be at a club the size of South Sydney Rabbitohs, to win at a club that hadn't been there with, if anyone's out there, have a look at the history of the story of the South Sydney Rabbitohs, to think it was 43 years, how that affected so many people. And I still live in the area, and you walk past people and people just give you a nod or a smile. And you just literally know that, those people were on that journey of wherever they may have jumped on the escalator of the 43 years. It's very special to them. And, I never forget walking around that stadium, Pete, when we won, and the South fans stayed for such a long period of time. I saw more tears than I saw, because that's what it means. Like, it was so special because it brought generations of people, of families together. From grandparents to their new grandkids to even further on, how that brought people together. That to me is what it was all about. And then you look at the origin, and with the millions of people here in New South Wales, everyone comes up and they just love that ride of, where we faced adversity in our first game, and then we came back and challenged them in the second, and we played really well. And then the third one, the storyline. So it really gave people of New South Wales something to really talk about. So they're really special parts of what you get to enjoy on a ride of, doing what I'm doing.
And when you think about what Madge has been sharing with all of us today, you're a business owner, you lead teams.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision? Are you good one-on-one with people? Have you set clear expectations? How deeply connected are you to the team and people that you lead? Do you have the right people around you? What's that symbol? What's that vision that's going to drive that team towards success? There's some profound, powerful statements, behaviors that you need to focus on if you really want to take your business to the next level. Madge, in closing today, if you were to start a business, what's one or two key things you would do if you were going to start a business for yourself right now?
Oh, that's a good one, Cox. You put me on the spot there. Oh, look, I think have an understanding of what you want to achieve. It's knowing where you want to go, and then build off the back of that. And you've got to spend time, thinking, well, what is it that myself, my family, what's it going to look like? I always say, if you don't have that vision, which we've said many a time, where do you know? Where do you think you're going? Like, how do you know where you're going to end up? And as I said, for myself as a head coach, it's easy for us. We've got an endpoint, which is a win in a grand final. But what does that winning mean to you in a business? Is it financial? Is it taking a group of people on a journey? And like, I'd love to be an owner of a business where you affect so many families, because they're going to go home to their families. And if they're being successful at work, they're going to take success back home. Their home life's going to be completely different. You're going to see a complete change in their growth of their kids, and it's changing the legacy of their family. If all of a sudden the business is successful and everyone's prospering off the back of that, their kids are going to schools that they'd like to go to. They're growing their own family. So I guess, I just think knowing where you'd like to go and taking people on a journey is something there that I'd always talk about. If I was, a business owner, is that the effect that you can have on so many people.
That's a key word, Madge, is just journey. Success is a journey.
Yeah.
And when you look at the journey you've been on over the last 23 years, and people look at the that intro video that I asked you to put together for me, just so people can understand a little bit about who you are, it certainly has been an amazing journey from a dad who drove taxis, 6 siblings, growing up on a farm, having a serious neck injury, becoming an assistant coach, and then you end up in Wembley and you end up with 250,000 people this year watching that Origin series. And I'll never forget standing back and there was about 40 cameras around you and you were being interviewed in a corner after Origin. And I just thought, that's where you belong, Madge, right? And this is a very important point, what I want to finish on today. Have you always believed that you would succeed in your professional career? Because belief is such an important part of success in business as well. I've been in business for 36 years and it's taken a lot of belief to keep climbing, to keep going. There were times there where it would have been easier just to give up.
Yeah. Belief's everything, Coxie. Belief is the word that I use many a time, as you know. And when you get a group of people believing, it's a very powerful piece. And we both have seen that. And sometimes you don't have to be the most talented. The belief of a team is one of probably the number one characteristics that I look for and build, because you may not have what might be the so-called talent, but when you've got belief in someone and trust in the person next to you, you can pretty well achieve whatever you want. So I think that's a great word that you can finish on there. Belief is that, and that comes through all the things that we've talked about, is building that team around you that has the same belief. And to be honest, whatever the adversity you might face in front of you, it's not adversity; it's just a bit of a challenge, and you'll get through that. You do as when everything's thrown at you.
So, as a business owner, to finish off today, what are you going to do to grow belief in the people you surround yourself with? Because you can have great people around you. But I've spent 10 years with Madge always trying to unlock how to grow belief. And sometimes teams win and sometimes they lose off the back of belief.
Yeah.
And if you could bottle belief, you'd be a billionaire, because if you could just drink it,
you'd be a trillionaire.
A trillionaire. And so that's a great way to finish today's amazing podcast interview with Michael Madge Maguire. Probably in the top 3 rugby league coaches in the world right now. And here he is on the Our Power Live Coxie podcast. Who would have thought that, Madge? But thank you very much for giving up your precious time today. Yeah. And I know the people that have been on this podcast, with all the messages I'm getting right now, are very appreciative of you sharing your thoughts on leadership, high performance, culture, vision, and what it takes to win and succeed.
Yeah, thanks Pete. And mate, thank you, mate. And obviously, thanks for the years that you put in the background, mate. You're a very special man, and I know we've been on one hell of a journey. So thanks again.
Thank you, Madge. See you later, guys.
See you, guys.
That's a wrap for today. Until next time, check out our online high performance team masterclass. It's got everyone talking. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are using that online program now to lead their teams more effectively and to create a high-performance environment. There's no assignments, no exams. It's packed full of practical strategies and resources to help you build and grow the right team in a thriving culture to drive your business forward with you. Go to leadershipdynamics.com.au for all the details. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe, leave us a review, share it with your network. I'm sharing a lot of my leadership journey, and I know it'll make a difference in your life to achieve the vision and the dreams that you have for your business and your life. Keep climbing.